So we've seen in chapter 13 that it is Satan that brings down the fire from heaven to deceive the nations so that they will worship him. These same words and ideas are used in chapter 20. Fire from heaven in Revelation only ever comes from Satan to deceive. John has defined what he means by this phrase clearly in chapter 13, and is intending us to bring this understanding back into chapter 20 because the exact same words are used. We are not left in the dark. Let's bring all that now back into chapter 20. Chapter 27 and 8, English Heritage Version. Look at the identical language and ideas being portrayed. 7 and 8. When the 1,000 years have come to an end, Satan will be released from his prison. Verse 8. Satan will go out to deceive the nations that are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. So there it is again. Satan is at work. The nations are his target, and deception is the purpose. This is exactly what we read in chapter 13. They're identical. Satan brings down the fire from heaven in chapter 20 to deceive the nations, to consume them. And the word consume, and they, the nations who were getting deceived, and they marched up over the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, but fire came down from heaven and consumed them. Satan is the only one in the book of Revelation that ever brings down fire from heaven. And here the word Satan is used, here the word deceived is used, here the word fire from heaven is used identically as chapter 13, and Satan's purpose is destroy the nations, consume the nations. Don't be surprised that Satan is turning against his own army. We have seen consistently right throughout the whole book that he smashes those who get the mark of the beast. He hammers those who do not have the seal of God. There's nothing out of character here with everything we have read so far, and now this is his final attack. Satan is called the destroyer in 9:11, and he just wants to destroy anyone created in the image of God, even those part of the kingdom of the beast, and we've seen this clearly through the plagues. Let's move on. My point is this. God is not the direct active agent of violence in this final scene. It is the devil, and only the devil. And I could leave it there, but I want to go one step further. Look at the parallel statements in verses 9 and 10. Yeah? Revelation 29-10, English Standard Version. Fire came down from heaven and consumed them, and the devil who had deceived them. One sentence. The word "and" at the beginning of verse 10 is a conjunctive. A conjunctive joins two phrases together. And the purpose of the conjunctive is to say that the second phrase explains the first phrase. This just happened, and this is what it means. This just happened, and this is what it means. And fire came down from heaven and consumed them, and the devil who had deceived them consumed them, deceived them. Fire came down from heaven, consumed them, and the devil who deceived them. Can you see it now? Satan deceived them to consume them. And that's what the word "and" means. It's joining both phrases together. The second phrase explains the first phrase. Fire came down from heaven and consumed them, and the devil who brought the fire down from heaven, who deceived them, consumed them. He tells us exactly who brought the fire down from heaven. Satan brought down the fire from heaven and consumed them. And then the devil who deceived them by doing that, he's thrown into the lake of fire. So the text explains itself. We are not left in the dark at all. The purpose of the deception is to consume the nations. He's just a destroyer. Evil is as evil does. The word consumed. This is a biggie. English translations are a little bit misleading here. It comes from the Greek word consumed, esthio. Esthio means to eat. We've already seen that exact same Greek verb used in chapter 17 and in chapter 19. And now the storyline of eating continues into chapter 20. In chapter 17, we read that the beast and the 10 kings ate the flesh of Babylon. The word eat refers to self-destruction of evil. Then in chapter 19, and we've already seen this, the word esthio, eat, is used again. The kings who ate Babylon now try to face off with Jesus in chapter 19, and when they meet, there's no war. And then chapter 19 of Revelation pulls in the storyline of the battle of Gog and Magog, and we saw this before, to show that the birds are called in to eat the flesh of the kings and their armies as an act of self-destruction. Because in the book of Ezekiel, the birds came in to eat the flesh only after the enemy nations necked one another. The word eat means self-destruction. And guess what? The storyline now comes to a climax. The word eat appears again in chapter 20, and it also will mention Gog and Magog by name, and then use the word eat, which again means self-destruction. Have a look at Revelation 20 verse 8, English Heritage Version. Look, the word eat, consume is there in the context of Gog and Magog. Look, verse 8. Satan will go out to deceive the nations. This is Revelation 13. That are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. They are as numerous as the sands of the seas, and the fire came down out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them by bringing the fire, Gog and Magog, folks, it mentions Gog and Magog by name and then uses the word eat. How much clearer can it be? He's done that already in chapter 19. He's done that in chapter 17. And now we've come to the end of the story where Satan again eats his own. He eats his own. Self-destruction is clearly in view. He mentions Gog and Magog by name and connects it with the word consume. And in Ezekiel 38:21, we saw this before, but one last time, Evangelical Heritage Version, God says about the battle of Gog and Magog, how they will be destroyed, and then when the birds come in, who destroyed the enemy armies in Gog and Magog. I will summon against Gog a sword upon all my mountains, declares the Lord God. Every man's sword will be against his brother. That's the storyline of Gog and Magog, self-destruction, and then the birds come and eat. We've been through this before. And now John brings in that exact same storyline into chapter 20, more specifically than chapter 19. He mentions Gog and Magog by name in the context of a battle, and then they're eaten. Eaten means the nations turn on one another. And that's John's message. Satan is so foolish, he brings down fire from heaven to somehow confuse the nations who are gathered for battle. And what do? Gog and Magog the nations turn against themselves. And then the devil is thrown into the lake of fire. Does that mean it's all over for the nations? No. We will get to that. But the devil gets thrown into the lake of fire to meet the beast and the false prophet. What does that mean? Next time.